Hello and welcome to Unit 4. This is your announcement for this particular week. Now, what I've done for this particular week is I've looked at the assigned reading and preparation activities, and I'm going to read from you the statement of what we're focusing on this week, so then I can turn around and kind of speak to that to give you a general feel. So far, people are doing very, very well. In reference to the videos, make sure that you're submitting the videos. Make sure to pull up the criteria of those videos and kind of walk through their criteria. One of the things that continues to be very impressive is that, and also kind of nice from my angle, is that students will walk through their criteria, and every once in a while I'll have a student, just don't mention the criteria. Go through all the criteria. Step through all the criteria. Make sure that you know all the different criteria and you're showing them. That's the first one. The second one is that I continue to have individuals who, when they're walking through the criteria, they find that, oh, I've forgotten this piece of criteria, or this piece of information, and then they change it really quick. That change and that demonstration of your competence where the programming is concerned and using Visual Basic in the program, it's very, very helpful for me because it represents a pure demonstration of your ability not only to fulfill the criteria, but also to look at the criteria and go, oh, well, I forgot one thing, let me change it, and then I can actually watch you do that. And as an instructor, you don't have the opportunity to watch 20 different people working on something all at the same time and be able to look with any degree of detail. That allows me to look with that degree of detail, and I really, really enjoy seeing you kind of work through those things. So that aside about the videos, these readings and preparation activities are about selection structure, nested selection structures, and multiple alternative structures, as well as exception handling and data validation. Now, kind of going through these. When you talk about selection structures, and I did this a little bit in the discussion, what you're doing is, up to this point in time, well, you've been copying things, I guess, but as you go through, you have a line that represents your code and how it works. Now, this is me trying to, there we go. A line that represents that's your code and how it works, and it does it line by line, one after the other, like little marching ants. Boom, 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 boom. With the selection structure, that allows it for you to make decisions that kind of go outside that marching ant, do something that it wants to do based off of a conditional, and then come back. My biggest example I always use is the if raining equals raincoat. So the only time raincoat will equal true is if raining equals true. Otherwise, raincoat will remain false. You don't have to check to see, if the variable raining equals true, then the variable raincoat equals false. If the variable raining doesn't equal true, then you don't ever touch the variable raining or raincoat because it's always false. And it's basically a black and white logic. And this is where that decision structure that comes in that lets you take that pure ants marching, boom, 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 kind of do a little something if something occurs, such as, hey, it's raining, let's use raincoat, and then come back to the main line of code and do. Or you're going along and you realize, oh, this conditional is true, I'm going to skip over this line of code or these groups of code and come back here and continue on. And that's where they get into the case statements and if-else statements and different things along those lines. And you kind of got to introduce that to last week more like a automated, I copy all this, I put it over here, everything's awesome. This is more of an in-depth, let's take a look at this thing. They also talk about exception handling and data validation. The way data validation works and the idea behind it, especially if you've ever done any database work, if you have someone enter in, let's say the word street. Let's just say the word street, okay? So they're putting all this information and they write the word street. You'll get some people that'll say S-T-R-E-E-T, all lowercase. You'll get other people that will capitalize the word street with the first S. You get other people that'll capitalize the whole thing. You'll get other people that'll put 3 E's in it. You'll get other people that'll say ST period. You'll get other people that'll say STR period. Believe it or not, one word. If you leave it up to the people that enter in the data, they will always try to find different ways to enter it in. And it's the way they've done it their entire life. They're not going, oh, I think I'm going to screw this up. What they're doing is they're entering in what they think is awesome. Except later on, if you're doing a query and you're going through your data and you're trying to automate it to look up the value street, if you don't take into account all the different variances that street can come in, some stuff might not pull up. I want to know who lives on a street. Well, if you've entered in street exactly the same way you entered in street, awesome. If you haven't, it might not cut them up. So what you do is you start using these data validation rules. And what data validation rules are in concept is the user inputs the information, you compare that to what it is. So if street has to be equal entered in as S-T-R-E-E-T capital S, it compares what the user input from what is actually your data validation rule. And if they don't input the right thing, you say false, and you tell them to enter it in again, or you give them some sort of guidance. And it continues in its loop until such time as they enter in what it is. Now, kind of going away from that, my dog is messing around with the blinds. Stop it! And kind of moving away from that or making it easier, rather than have the user free enter whatever it is, have a drop-down list that says this is what street is. So they choose street and they're awesome. If you've ever entered in information online and you have Mr., it's kind of the same way. You'll notice it has a drop-down list for Mr., Mrs., blah, 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 blah. What it is those are standard tags that are used in names, and if you left it up to the user, there would be 800 different ways to do it. This way, there's one, and you can test for that one. And data validation rules tell you things like, I want you to enter number 1 to 10. If they enter an A, it says, you didn't enter in a number. Or if they enter in 11, sorry, it's 1 to 10. Those are data validation rules, and that gets data validation rules and if, then, else's, case statements, all these things, they all connect together to create things. And I'm going to kind of walk through some of those in my micro lesson this week. So far, videos are great. Keep that up. It's great to see that. Once again, I can't emphasize enough. This is the first semester I've used those. And they might be a little bit more work for you, but they're huge for me. And I really, really enjoy them. Thank you very much for your time. Doing great work so far.